I used to judge people who took their own lives. I used to believe that suicide was a selfish act and that anyone who tried to or took their own life was not thinking of people that they were leaving behind. And I used to believe that suicide was a choice that someone made. This is what I thought that I knew about suicide until I went to that slippery edge myself. Now I can tell you what I know about suicide. So let's get started. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for being here right now because I care about what you're working through. My name is Carole and I'm a life coach from carolecares.com who helps all teens and young adults work through their mental health challenges. If you are thinking of self-harming right now, please hit the video link above at any time during this video. Let me begin by saying that what I'm about to say is not taken from any book. It's from personal experience. I now know that for anyone to understand or judge why anyone would attempt to take their own life or commit suicide has had to go to that dark place themselves. You can't understand someone else's pain unless you yourself have been there. Suicide is not something that you can read about or something that you can comprehend. It just isn't. To understand suicide, it's to have felt it in the deepest, darkest part of one's being. The act of taking one's own life comes from a place of great pain. And it is in this suffering that one is led to suicide, to alleviate the pain, because it just finally becomes too much. It's not a choice to take one's own life, but a final result of not being able to deal with the mental anguish any longer. Now, before I continue with my own experience around suicide, I want to warn you that what I'm about to say may be triggering for some of you. I know about suicide because in my own adult therapy, I've had to work through some childhood memories that have brought me to the most painful, darkest place of my being. And it's because of my traumatic childhood that I've fought depression all my life. But I've come to learn that in my therapy, that my depression and my feelings of hopelessness that I'm feeling today are not about now. They're coming from a time or an incident when I was a child and I was too young to feel these emotions. It was just too painful. So now these emotions are coming up for me now so that I can work through them. So with the help of my therapist, I've also journaled about my own hopelessness that I felt as a child. I've journaled about how I wanted to kill myself, about how I felt that no one cared about me, and how I felt that I was so alone in this world. And I felt that if I did commit suicide, no one would even notice that I was gone. And I was feeling all of this as an adult, as if it were happening now, even though I knew that these feelings were the very painful emotions that I couldn't feel as a child because they were just too painful to handle at the time. So I had to shut it all down. And now as an adult, when these emotions are coming up from my childhood for me to deal with, it can become a very painful place at times. And my writing can get really ugly with suicidal thoughts. But I actually always thought that I would be okay and that I wouldn't really take my own life. Until one day. It happened in the beginning of 2020 when I was alone and I was battling about a depression that had recently come on really strong, and I was having difficulty pulling myself out of it. Now, my number one tool to fight my depression is always through journaling. That's the only way I can get out of it. But the last thing I wanted to do at the time was to journal because I was sitting in a lot of pain and just felt hopeless. And even though I knew that my depression was not about now, and that it was about what I felt as a child, it didn't feel that way. Because when you're in full-blown depression, it never feels that way. So at the time in January when this happened, there was an incident of rejection in my life as an adult that triggered something very painful from childhood when I was rejected. So my depression was quite strong, and I sat paralyzed in a chair because I didn't want to deal with the pain that was coming up. And as I sat with the pain, I began to get really scared all of a sudden because the pain was becoming too much. And my suicidal thoughts started to come up again. But they were different this time. I could actually feel my fear beginning to overtake me. And I became scared as hell. I could literally feel my heart pounding as the fear moved through my body. It was something that I never had felt before. I could actually feel myself losing control over this entire situation. And at that point, I knew that my depression had escalated to a whole new level. I was scared that I was going to kill myself. I wasn't choosing to kill myself. It was choosing me. And I couldn't even control my thoughts anymore. At no point during that time did I say to myself, I can't kill myself. What about all the people I'm leaving behind? I'm not thinking of other people. I'm selfish for doing this. And at no point did I say to myself, I'm going to make the choice right now to kill myself. I'm going to do it right now. I didn't want to take my own life. Sure, I've previously journaled about my suicidal thoughts, and I've even talked about how I would do it, but I didn't want to die. These were thoughts that I needed to express to get them out. I needed to get them out so I could heal from them. But in that moment, that incredible pain that I was feeling, it just became too much. And then the fear set in, and then I lost complete control of the situation. And it was starting to take over me. And I knew I was in trouble, but I couldn't control it. And you know what saved my life? And this is no lie. In sheer desperation, I remember grabbing my laptop and I just frantically started to pound the hell out of the keys. And I told myself how much I hated myself and how much I felt so alone and how nobody cared and how I just wanted to die. And I told the world to F off because I was so angry at everyone. I was fighting for my life on my keyboard. Then I threw myself on the floor in sheer agony and I just gave in to the pain. It took everything in me just to hold on and just to allow the grief to come in. I don't know how, but somehow I came to understand at that moment that I was the only one in this world who could save me. So I took my arms and I just wrapped them around me and I wailed at the top of my lungs. And I remember saying to myself, I got you. And here I am today. I made it out alive. And I can tell you that I know I won't ever be taken to that edge again. And do you know why I know? Because I have my own back now. And I know that I have to journal every single day from this feeling of hopelessness. Because if I don't, I know where my thoughts will go. Since that time, I've probably journaled once or twice about taking my own life, but it's been nowhere near the level that I just spoke about. And now, this is what I know about suicide. It's not a selfish act. It's not a choice. It's a final result of not being able to deal with the mental pain anymore. It's when the pain that one's been battling for too long finally takes over. And now when I hear that someone has tried to take their own life or that they've actually committed suicide, I know that the person was in a hell of a lot of pain to do it. And that's why I no longer judge anyone who has attempted or has taken their own life, because I've been to that level of pain myself. And I don't ever want to go back there again. And this is why you will always hear me say that journaling saved my life. Literally. And there is only one way out of depression and your own suicidal thoughts. And that is through journaling. I want you to start to journal from your own pain, from your own hopelessness, before your pain gets just too much and you lose the battle. Only you can save you. And I'm asking you to give yourself just one more chance. If you need help on how to journal from depression, or if you're just getting started with journaling, I've linked 2 videos at the end and also in the description box. One is how to journal from depression, and the other one is journaling for your mental health. In my next video on suicide, I'm going to give you some ways to help you deal with your own suicidal thoughts. Until then, if you have any other questions on suicide or any other mental health challenges that you may be facing, you can go to my website, carolecares.com, and you can fill out a form on my Q&A page. You can also subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And remember, have compassion for what you are working through right now, and stay safe. Bye for now.